Oh. Oh, excuse me there. I was just a bit busy with something. What is up, friends? Well, it's hard to believe I'm actually saying it, but it's already been a month since Tears of the Kingdom released. I guess it's true that time flies by when you're having fun. And Tears of the Kingdom is a game that is a lot of fun. But it's more than just a fun game. It is one of the greatest games ever made. This game is so indescribable. But here, I'm going to try and describe it. I'm going to give my impressions of The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, a month in. I've played quite a bit of the game. I haven't completed the story yet, but I will not go into any details about the story in this video, so you're free from story spoilers. I'm mainly going to be talking about gameplay and what I think of the gameplay. Because let me tell you, the gameplay in Tears of the Kingdom is, it's really bad. No, it's actually not. It's everything I expected and much more. Tears of the Kingdom is the sequel to a game that was revolutionary in its openness and player freedom. And Tears of the Kingdom is even more revolutionarily open and free. Breath of the Wild was all about freedom in exploration and navigation. You could go anywhere you wanted. Do anything you wanted in the world. Tears of the Kingdom is still free and open in that sense, but it's also open in experimentation and customization. In Tears of the Kingdom, you can still go anywhere and do anything, but you can also create anything. It's a game fueled by imagination, as I've said before. And the things you can create by using your imagination and with the tools that the game gives you are absurd. People have made some really crazy things in this game, and it just goes to show that the chemistry and physics systems created for Breath of the Wild, there's so many more ways they could be applied. And here they're applied in a new way of letting the player create weapons and vehicles and any crazy contraption that you can dream of. This game is so overwhelmingly open. I've gotten used to the openness by now, a month in, but at first it is kind of crazy and mind-blowing just how big this game is. It's so big and so free that it really does put Breath of the Wild to shame, and does, as many people have stated, make Breath of the Wild kind of feel like just a tech demo. There is so much to do, so much to discover in the sky, on the surface, and in the depths. And let me just talk about these portions of the world, these three enormous layers of this world. I was kind of surprised that even though the sky was the most heavily marketed portion of the world, I mean, it's literally one of the things touted on the back of the game's box, but I've barely spent any time there. I spent a good amount of time there, but I spent the majority of my time in Hyrule on two of the other layers. Still, the sky is a welcome addition, but it's much less prominent than I thought it would be. And that's mainly because the sky is very different from the surface. I mean, of course, it's the sky. It's these golden trees up there with scattered archipelagos around Hyrule. But each of the layers feels distinctive, and the sky feels distinctive in that it's less of a sandbox and more of a toy box. Sky Islands are very specifically designed to present you with puzzles. And I mean, getting to the Sky Islands is in itself a puzzle. And so the Sky Islands are much more focused on puzzles than exploration. And that's a nice balance to the exploration of the other two layers. Of course, there's the surface, which is the world we know and love from Breath of the Wild. But I've enjoyed exploring the surface. I enjoyed it in Breath of the Wild, and I was slightly worried that it would feel like just more of the same in Tears of the Kingdom. But it isn't. There are so many immense and incredible changes to discover. Changes in characters, in locations. The geography and people of Hyrule have changed considerably. But the biggest change of all, and the one I've noted the most, is one that wasn't really brought up much before the game was released, but it's caves. I cannot state how much I adore caves. Caves! They are everywhere, and every one of them contains some sort of worthwhile treasure and adventure. Caves are just everywhere. I'll be going towards whatever goal I have in mind, and suddenly I just see a cave and I veer off towards it and spend a while spelunkering. It's even easier in Tears of the Kingdom to get distracted than it was in Breath of the Wild. There's so many new experiences dotted around the world. Hyrule feels much more alive this time around, and just how many characters there are to interact with, and just how many things there are to do. The third layer is quite the opposite. It does not feel alive at all, and it's not supposed to. I was really surprised by this third layer because it was one of those several things which was not really promoted at all before the game released. And I think that was intentional, so that we would be surprised by the third underground layer, which is called the Depths. And it's one of the layers that I've spent the most time in. The Depths are, again, so surprising and so exciting because it's a whole nother layer. The size of the surface layer, but it has a whole different kind of feeling. The Depths are pitch black and very dangerous, filled with enemies that can temporarily drain your health and gloom everywhere that can do the same. The Depths are exciting to explore because they're so mysterious and so dangerous. I didn't expect there to be a whole nother sprawling layer of darkness, combat, and exploration. The Depths are incredibly dark, incredibly dangerous, and incredibly atmospheric. And each layer in this huge world really has its own atmosphere and its own feeling. The sky is a toy box, the surface is a sandbox, and the depths are the depths. I think it's the best word I can use to describe them, just stating the name again, because the depths, there's something else entirely. A rare experience in Zelda where you have this underlying sense of fear and dread as you explore darkness. It's crazy just how distinct each layer of this world feels. It took me by surprise just how big each layer of the world is, and just how big this whole three-layered world is, where we're free to explore and create anything in any way we want. All three layers, the sky, the surface, and the depths, have so much to experience, and so many ways you can experiment with the new systems in the game. And wow, I've spent so much time ranting about how distinctive and incredible each layer of the world feels that I have barely even touched on the new tools that the developers have given us in the form of Link's new abilities. I won't go into details about each of them, but they each feel helpful in their own way and are organically implemented into the way we experience the world. These new abilities are really great, and I'm enjoying using them a lot, even more than the Sheikah runes in Breath of the Wild. And that really sums up a lot of what Tears of the Kingdom is about. Tears of the Kingdom is the same magic as Breath of the Wild all over again, only magnified in massive new ways. And I do think that maybe my fear that I stated before the game of Tears of the Kingdom making it hard to go back to Breath of the Wild, I think that might come true. Although, who knows? Maybe in the future I'll find that it's fun to go back to the world of Breath of the Wild, because it feels a lot more peaceful and serene in Breath of the Wild, because Tears of the Kingdom is a busy world with so much to do. If Breath of the Wild was capturing the spirit of the original The Legend of Zelda, then Tears of the Kingdom is capturing the spirit of A Link to the Past. And that analogy is by no means perfect, but what I'm trying to say is that just like A Link to the Past expanded upon what made the original Legend of Zelda so good, and expanded upon it in ways that we remember and love so much, Tears of the Kingdom does the same. It expands upon Breath of the Wild so much, except, unlike A Link to the Past, which kind of got rid of the openness of the original The Legend of Zelda, and was a much more linear experience. Unlike that, Tears of the Kingdom preserves the freedom and openness of Breath of the Wild, and expands upon it enormously. There is, again, so much more freedom in the way we explore, and the way we experiment, and the way we experience a world that is even bigger than Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom expands upon its predecessor in interesting and incredible new ways, and ultimately, it's enough for Tears of the Kingdom to stand on its own, and even exceed its predecessor in countless ways. So here I stated a few words about how very, very good Tears of the Kingdom is. These words have not been enough. I have not and cannot do this game justice. It really is one of the greatest games ever created because of how open its design is and how organic its mechanics feel. And I've tried to do this game justice, but I don't think I've succeeded. But thank you for listening to me trying to do it justice. I'm ThoughtfulDX of Kiro Tarakai, and I'll see you next time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go play some more Tears of the Kingdom. Is that a Korok? That's a Korok. I'm gonna go get the Korok. Must get Korok! There's so many Koroks. Too many Koroks. It's driving me crazy again. Korok.